Hi everyone! So I've been really wanting to try to do my own pins in clay, and I thought that you guys might want to join me on this journey because we're in for a ride. Or maybe this will be super easy, I don't know, because I've never done this before. So I got this package of original Sculpey clay in the color white, and this is the kind of clay that you bake in the oven. Ceramic like clay is soft and easy to use. Well, I do hope so. So yeah, this is what it looks like. 2 giant lumps of clay. It apparently stays soft until you bake it, so I don't have to worry about it drying out or anything, hopefully. Oh, this is nice. Wow, this is really super soft. I don't know exactly what kind of clay this is, but I've been working with polymer clay, and I think this might be some sort of polymer clay because you can bake it in the oven. But the kind of polymer clay that I worked with before, it was so freaking hard to work with. So yeah, this feels like a dream. I really hope that it won't be too soft to work with, but yeah, let's find out. So yeah, we have the clay here, and I actually chose the color white because I wanted to be able to paint on it. So I also bought this set of Liquitex acrylic gouache. Look at all those pretty colors. I have actually never worked with acrylic gouache before, so I'm very curious to try it out. So yeah, we have 12 little bottles of acrylic gouache to work with. Then I also have some UV resins that I can seal the paint with and also give the pins a nice and shiny surface. So to be able to cure this kind of resin, you will need some sort of UV light, which can be just regular sunlight. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of sunlight here in Scandinavia in the winter, so I will need a little help. So I also got a UV nail lamp. So this is really made for curing your gel nail polish, but it works perfectly fine for curing UV resin as well. And this one has a timer, which is great. And what I really like is that you can actually pull the bottom out like so, and there's the camera, hello. So then you can just pull this bottom piece out and place your pins on it, and then you can just slide it back in again without having to get your hands in there and poke around. So I really hope this will work now. Also, this is a 36 watt UV lamp, and to be able to turn these pins into pins, I will need some pin backings. Also, I might turn some of them into keychains, so I have some of those and some glue. And I also actually bought some magnets because I thought it would be cute to turn some of these into magnets to put on your fridge, but I must have done some miscalculating because these magnets, they are so tiny. I mean, look at this. But then on the other side, they are actually quite strong. So maybe just 1 or 2 of these tiny little magnets would actually work on the back of one of these pins. So yeah, these are all the things that I might need to make my clay pins. Oh, I might also need a rolling pin, which I don't have, but I've seen someone just use a regular pen to roll out the clay, so maybe that will work. Pens is definitely something that I have, so but yeah, let's try to make some pins. So to try to keep this white clay somewhat white, I actually switched out the background board. I'm pretty sure that the wooden texture one that I always use in my videos, it is quite not so clean. But yeah, so first I'm just playing around with the clay, trying to get a feeling for it, just to get an idea what I can do and not do. And I will talk more about my experience with this clay in just a minute. I also found a fairly smooth pen that I could use as a rolling pin. It worked perfectly. But yeah, I'm just experimenting a little and trying out some different techniques. So when I had a few kitties, a pumpkin and a mushroom, I baked them all according to the instructions, and here is what they looks like. They got a very smooth surface and they feels quite sturdy, and I didn't burn any of them, so I'm quite happy with that. I did actually gather some information from the first test, and what I learned is that I need to keep it fairly simple because, yeah, I am still a beginner. So I sketched out a few ideas, and since these will be flat pins and I'm just gonna paint on the details later, I just need to shape the silhouettes. So it is very helpful for me to have some references to kind of get an idea what the shape or the silhouette will look like. So we have a little bit of a witchy collection, I would say: kitties, mushrooms, pumpkin, a book, and so on. And again, I try to keep it fairly simple with the shapes, but I still think these can turn out pretty cute anyway. So as I mentioned, this clay is very soft and easy to work with. You don't have to fight it to shape it, which I do appreciate, but after warming it up a bit in my hands, it almost got a little too soft, not really sticky or anything, but it made it a little more difficult to pick it up and shape it without mushing or distorting everything. So I sometimes let it rest for a bit to let it cool down, but then on the other hand, since it was so soft, it was very easy to smooth out with my fingers only. I could get a super smooth surface and I could very easily smooth out and erase any fingerprints, so I really liked that. I had a little trouble getting a good and even thickness though. It is a pretty heavy clay, so it can't be too thick because then the pins will be too heavy and they might fall off when wearing them, and that is not very good. Also, white clay and cat hair is no good combination. Every single little hair and dust particle wanted to sit on this clay and get baked into it. It might be a nice way to immortalize your cat though, just bake their hair into a pin. So as I mentioned, I found a really good pen to use as a rolling pin, so that worked out great. And I also got some really good tips from my dear patrons, like using the backsides of paintbrushes in different sizes to smooth out the corners and edges. It worked so well. I also had a few painting knives and an actual knife to cut and shape the clay with, so it all worked out really well. But yeah, after a little while, I actually started to enjoy working with the clay. I was a little skeptical at first, but after learning some more techniques and just playing around with it a bit more, I started to like it. But it takes a lot of patience, and I don't always have a lot of patience. And unfortunately, sometimes I am also a bit of a perfectionist, so I had to stop myself a few times from overworking the clay and the pins, going back and forth, reshaping and smoothing things out. So yeah, I had to stop myself, or else I would still be here trying to perfect the clay. But yeah, eventually I had a few pins that I felt happy with, roughly the same size and the same thickness, and fairly nice and smooth. Overall, I felt pleased with them. And I also used a bit of rubbing alcohol to try to get rid of some of the dust particles, which actually didn't work that well for me. Maybe I did something wrong, maybe I didn't use rubbing alcohol, I don't know. But I figured I would sand them and paint them, so a lot of the dust will disappear or be painted over anyway. Then I shoved them all into the oven, baked them according to the instructions, and then I had all of these lovely little clay cookies. I actually really like how they turned out and that they aren't perfectly rounded. There are some angular shapes or lines in there. It fits really well with my style, but I decided to sand them anyway just to clean up some mistakes that I made, sharp edges or messy backsides, and to get rid of some of the dust particles. And don't worry, I was wearing a mask the whole time, so I didn't breathe in any of the dust. Then it's time to give these pieces some character and personality with some paint. I painted a few coats to get a nice opaque layer of paint, and I was debating with myself if I should prime these with gesso first, but I think I got lazy and decided against that. But since some of these dust particles that were still there were actually showing through the paint, especially for the orange and the yellow paint, I might actually use gesso under the paint next time. So that is something that I learned. But I really like these paints, the acrylic gouache. It has the good qualities from both the gouache and the acrylic. It dries permanent like acrylic paint, but it is smoother and easier to apply and to work with like gouache, and it also dries matte like gouache does, which doesn't really matter in this case since I will make them glossy anyway with resin, but it is still a nice quality, I think. And to avoid touching the wet paint too much, I used a glue stick and some blue tack to kind of put the pins on when I painted them, like an extra little handle to hold on to. But then I got paint all over my fingers anyway, it is just how it is, I can't avoid it. Then I added the final details with some paint pens, and here is where I really started to fall in love with these pins. I had been a tiny bit skeptical until this point. I thought they looked a little messy, but now seeing them with all the details and the colors, they look so good. Also, one more reason for me to invest in some more Posca pens. I could really use some more different colors and nib sizes, but yeah, I really enjoyed this part, seeing all the pins coming together. I'm so glad that I finally pushed myself to make some pins, because it's been a work in progress for many months now, and it is definitely something that I will make more of. I have so many ideas and I'm so excited. Look how adorable these are. Let me know which one's your favorite. I love the fox one, the cats, especially the one with the scarf, so cute, the pumpkin, the little teacup, the yellow chanterelle mushroom, the little paw. And if you're wondering why there is a tooth in there, I thought it could be a cute Christmas gift for a dentist that I know, perhaps. And then before coating them in resin, I glued on the little pin backings. I thought I could use these corks to push down the pins in to have something to hold onto while adding the resin. Plus, it will also act like stands when curing them in the UV lamp. Also, I know I didn't use any of the keychains or the magnets that I showed you before. I realized that later, but I might just save them for some future projects. Finally, it's time for the resin. So I took a piece of tape to remove any dust or hair before coating them, and then I basically just added a little dollop of resin and I spread it out on the pin with a toothpick. A little resin really goes a long way here. Also, for you who may not know what resin is, it kind of looks like glue, but when it's cured it turns hard and super smooth, like glass almost. I decided to not use a paintbrush to spread out the resin with, because I am not really sure how I would clean it afterwards, but a toothpick, it worked really well. Resin is a little thicker, so it kind of evens itself out and makes itself smooth, if that makes any sense. And yeah, there might be some tiny little bubbles in there, but they are so small, so I don't really mind. And then, before the resin starts to move around too much and starts to drip off the pin, I put them into the UV lamp and I let them cure for about 6 minutes each. Then, when all of them is done, I put them all back in the lamp again for one extra final curing session. Even if the resin is fully cured, it can still feel a tiny bit sticky, so I like to cure them a little extra. But yeah, here they are. I had so much fun. I am so freaking happy with how these turned out. I mean, look how shiny they are, so smooth, so colorful, so cute. I love them. I want to make like 100 more of these now, which I probably will, since I'm hoping to make and sell some pins in my shop in the near future. So please let me know what kind of pins you think would be cute, and I might make some and add to my shop. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope I will see you next time, which will probably be next year, because now I'm gonna take a much needed break. So yeah, happy holidays and happy new year everyone. I hope you will all have a relaxing time. So yeah, keep drawing my happy cats. Bye!